All right, in this video, I'm going to show some experiment results that totally blew my mind. I was testing out the two most popular loop knots. One, the Canoe Man loop knot, and number two, the non-slip loop knot, to see how they handled with various lines and when using saliva to cinch it down or just doing it dry. The result totally blew me away. If you use fluorocarbon line and the Canoe Man loop knot, you really want to watch this video because you're going to see some very important findings, because this has been the biggest difference on a knot handling one line versus another that I've ever seen. And I tested out, it wasn't just the blue label, right? I tested out even the Premier, the really high-end stuff, as well as Yozuri fluorocarbon, all of which did not handle well with the Canoe Man loop knot. It was like 20% difference going from those expensive fluorocarbon lines, and it was about 20% better performance with traditional monofilament line. These fluorocarbon lines, they're more brittle. They just do not handle well with loop knots, particularly the Canoe Man loop knot. And so in case you're wondering what this is here, this is the new knot tester. This an insider member, Andy Hong, made this. It's amazing. It's the most precise knot breaker we have because it's a motorized pull, right? So we just click that button. It's motorized. It'll break it on a consistent duration, and that way we can get much more accurate results. So you just click that button, wait till it pops, and then we can analyze. We can see what broke, and then we can see on this is a very nice scale, and so we can see the precise breaking point. Instead of showing the recording of the knot breaks, I did so many this would take forever. It would be like an hour-long video, which I'm sure you don't want to watch. So I'll go over the results. I've been taking detailed notes. Cover the difference on doing dry versus wet cinches, right? Whether you use saliva or not. And then the most shocking results is on the different lines, right? On the regular monofilament versus fluoro was significantly different. And in case you need a refresher on what these knots are, they're both very quick and easy to tie. So here's the Canoe Man. You make one loop, you make a second one, put the second one through the first, then you thread on your lure or hook or whatever you're using, and then put the tag in through the second, pull it all tight, and there is your Canoe Man loop knot. All right, and for a quick refresher of the non-slip loop, first step is just to make a basic overhand knot. And then we're going to thread the lure on. We're going to go through that basic overhand knot. And then we're going to go around the tag line 3 times. And then we're going to go back down through that overhand knot that we did on the first step. And that is going to be our completed knot. We're going to cinch it down. There is the non-slip loop knot. All right, so now to check out the results. Here are the detailed results. So the main test, I did 6 tests, and I did half wet, half dry, meaning half I used saliva to cinch it down, half I did not. And then I did the same thing for fluorocarbon. And you can see the differences, right? So these are both 20-pound lines. So they're both the 20-pound rating. So the 20-pound Andy over here on the left, the 20-pound Cigar over here on the right, and very different breaking strengths. And what was notable is that on the regular monofilament, the Canoe Man and the non-slip traded, right? So it was half and half. So they're basically roughly the same breaking point. If you look at the average of their breaking points, the Canoe Man was slightly better, but again, it was a pretty low sample size. So I would say that they're pretty much a tie as far as overall strength. Then we move over to fluorocarbon. The Canoe Man lost every time, and look at the breaking strengths. Right, so we had the most, right, it never even got above 14 pounds, and on the regular monofilament, it never even got below 14 pounds. So very different. And so if we use the averages, right, the average on the Andy on the regular monofilament was a 16.13 breaking strength. That's on the 20-pound line. That's really not too bad for loop knot. If we go to fluorocarbon, it goes down to a 13.25. And so just from switching from a fluorocarbon line to a mono line, you can save 22%, which is shocking. But if you do want to stick with fluorocarbon lines for whatever reason, you can still do it, but just make sure to use the non-slip loop knot. I did a couple tests on fluoro with the non-slip loop versus the non-slip loop, and it was about 15.5 pounds. So it wasn't quite as good as with the regular monofilament, but it was much, much better than what we got with the Canoe Man. And so another interesting data point from this test is the wet versus dry, right? So using saliva versus not using saliva. And what I found, and this is consistent with the Uniknot test I did a little while back, is that actually dry, when you're cinching down the knots, doing it dry without any saliva or water actually does better than using saliva, which is contrary to what the popular opinion is. So the average with wet, like with saliva, was a 15.71 breaking strength, and then the average going dry with no saliva bumped up to 16.54. So that was a 5% increase in breaking strength simply by not using saliva to cinch down the line. That was with mono. With the fluorocarbon line, the same premise held true, just wasn't quite as drastic. So it was only a 1% increase. All right, and so as far as analyzing the actual cost of these lines, this is again very telling. This is the reason why I've stopped using fluorocarbon. Is that the Andy monofilament, right? It's just very inexpensive. This is $4.99 for a 50-yard spool. That's the convenience of having the wrist spool. Obviously, you can get a much lower, price per yard if you get the really big bulk spools. But it's a 10 cents per yard cost basis for the convenience of the wrist spool for monofilament line. And then when we switch over to the fluorocarbon lines, that cost basis skyrockets. So now we're talking, 4 times plus more per yard of line to actually get worse knot performance is really very surprising. And this is something that we've seen on a continuous basis, not just knot strength, but also abrasion resistance. So for that reason, I've totally switched away from fluorocarbon line, and I'm mad that I've spent so much money over the years on it. I'm now just going with this much less expensive monofilament line, and I really haven't seen a decline in fish caught. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, leave a comment down below. I just really wanted to emphasize the importance of just taking time and maximizing your line strength. So in this case, just switching from one type of line to another can make a big deal, but really just switching to the non-slip loop knot. If you do really want to use fluorocarbon line, just switch over to a non-slip loop knot, and that will have a significantly better strength. And don't take my word for it, right? Try it out, test it out, tie it on the same strand of line and pull, and you'll see which one is stronger, and go with that one. And if you'd like to see all of the prior tests, we've done a lot of knot experiments, and we have a running list of the top knots for each connection type. You can go to saltstrong.com/knots. We'll put a link down below for that because there's some extremely helpful information. You'll not only see how they rank, but also you have detailed videos on exactly how to tie them to make sure that you're tying them the proper way. So thank you so much for your time and watching this video. If you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we're the online fishing club that guarantees you'll be catching more fish than ever before while saving money on all the tackle you need. To learn more, go to saltstrong.com. Otherwise, hope to see you again soon.